She hesitated, her fingers tracing the rim of her coffee cup as she tried to steady her nerves. The cafe buzzed around them, but in their little corner, time seemed to slow. Finally, she forced the words out, almost as if speaking them aloud would make them less frightening. "Men don't like single moms," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. She looked down, bracing herself for the judgment, the polite smile, or worse, silence. For a moment, he didn't respond. She stole a quick glance at his face, searching for any hint of disapproval. Instead, his expression was calm, thoughtful, almost surprised. "Wait," he said, leaning back in his chair, a slow smile tugging at the corners of his mouth. "You actually believe that?" Her cheeks warmed, and she fidgeted, embarrassed. "Well, isn't it true?" she asked, her voice shaking slightly. "I mean, I have a kid. Doesn't that scare men off?" He shook his head, and there was a warmth in his eyes that made her heart ache with relief. "No," he said firmly. "Not the right ones. Anyone who's worth your time isn't scared of who you are. They're drawn to it, to you, and everything that makes you, you." She blinked, stunned, unsure whether to laugh or cry. "Seriously?" she whispered. "Seriously," he replied, his gaze unwavering. "Being a parent doesn't make you less desirable, it makes you more, stronger, more compassionate, more capable of loving. If a man can't see that, then he's not worth your time. Period." Her chest tightened, a mix of relief and hope flooding her. She had been bracing herself for rejection, but instead, she found understanding, respect, and admiration. The walls she had built around her heart, the ones reinforced by years of judgment and doubt, began to crumble. He reached across the table, his hand covering hers, grounding her in the moment. "I don't just see you," he said softly. "I see all of you. And it's amazing." For the first time in what felt like forever, she felt truly seen, not just as a single mom, not just as someone juggling responsibilities, but as a complete person worthy of love. The fear that had shadowed her for years began to lift, replaced by something fragile, yet exhilarating, hope. In that quiet, sunlit cafe, with the hum of life continuing around them, she realized something she hadn't dared to admit before: maybe, just maybe, love wasn't something to fear. Maybe it was waiting for her to believe it was possible. The evening air was cool as she walked down the tree-lined street, her child's small hand tucked securely in hers. Street lights flickered on, casting long shadows across the sidewalk, and the distant hum of traffic felt both comforting and isolating. She had agreed to meet him at a quiet little cafe downtown, a place that felt safe, cozy, and removed from the chaos of her everyday life. Her stomach twisted with nervous anticipation. She hadn't felt this nervous about a date in years. Part of her was excited, curious about the man who had been kind, attentive, and so unassuming, but another part of her was guarded, weary from past experiences. Each step toward the cafe was a reminder of the invisible walls she had built around herself, walls she wasn't sure anyone could scale. When she arrived, he was already there, sitting at a corner table with a relaxed, easy smile. Seeing him, she felt a spark of something she hadn't felt in a long time: hope. The initial conversation was light and effortless, a dance of small jokes and shared interests. He asked about her day, about her hobbies, about the little things that made her life uniquely hers. And she found herself laughing, feeling a rare sense of ease that made her chest lift. But beneath the laughter, doubt lingered. She caught herself glancing down at her child's absence from the conversation, wondering if he would even understand the life she carried with her everywhere. Could he truly accept her fully, the way she existed outside this moment? She stirred her coffee, fingers tracing the rim of the cup, and rehearsed the words she had kept inside for weeks. The words that admitted fear, vulnerability, and a truth she had hidden even from herself: men don't like single moms. Saying it aloud felt like stepping off a cliff, and yet she knew she couldn't keep it bottled any longer. As he leaned forward, listening to her talk about trivial matters, she realized that this was the moment that could either change everything or confirm her deepest fears. Her heart beat faster, a mix of anxiety and courage. She took a deep breath, bracing herself for the truth she was about to voice, and for the reaction that could either lift her up or shatter the fragile hope she had allowed herself to feel. In that quiet, intimate corner of the cafe, the world seemed to narrow down to the two of them. And in that narrowing, she realized she was ready to finally ask the question she had avoided for so long, ready to risk being vulnerable, because maybe, just maybe, he would surprise her. The late afternoon sunlight spilled into her living room, slanting across the carpet where toys were scattered like tiny landmines. She sank onto the couch with a sigh, the weight of the day pressing down on her shoulders. The school run, the grocery shopping, the laundry that never seemed to end, it all converged in this quiet moment, and for once, she allowed herself to feel it. Her phone buzzed again, this time with a message from a coworker, "Happy hour tonight. You should come out. It's been forever since you had fun." She stared at the screen, her thumb hovering over the reply button. The idea of going out sounded appealing in theory, laughing, talking, maybe even flirting, but the reality of leaving her child with a babysitter made her stomach twist. She thought of the men she had dated since becoming a single mom. Some were curious at first, but once they realized how much of her life was intertwined with her child, their interest faded. She hated admitting it, but she couldn't shake the worry that her motherhood was a barrier she couldn't cross. Maybe they're right, she muttered under her breath. Men don't like single moms. The words stung, even as she said them to herself. She remembered the subtle signs, a quick glance at her ring finger, a polite but distant smile, the sudden disappearance after a few dates. Each one had chipped away at her confidence, leaving her hesitant, guarded, and hyper-aware of the invisible label she carried. Her child toddled into the room, holding up a crayon-streaked drawing. "Look, Mommy." She smiled, taking the picture, feeling a rush of warmth. The messy, chaotic life she led was full of love, even if it didn't always feel like it was recognized by the outside world. And yet, beneath that warmth, a flicker of longing remained, longing for someone who could see beyond the exhaustion and the spilled juice, someone who would embrace her life as it was. She set the drawing aside and leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "Maybe I'm asking too much," she whispered. "Maybe someone like me, with everything I have, is too complicated." But even as the doubt crept in, there was a small, stubborn spark inside her refusing to be snuffed out. Somewhere out there, she thought, someone might not only accept her but admire her for it. And if she could hold on to that hope just a little longer, maybe, just maybe, she could let herself believe in a love that wasn't afraid of the life she already had. The morning sun spilled through the kitchen window, casting a warm glow over the mismatched mugs and scattered cereal bowls. She moved quickly, juggling a plate of pancakes in one hand and a lunchbox in the other, all while trying to keep her little one from spilling juice on the floor. Every day felt like a tightrope walk, balancing work, errands, and motherhood, but today, something weighed heavier than usual on her mind. She paused for a moment, glancing at the stack of unopened messages on her phone. Most were from friends urging her to get back out there, to try dating again, as if it were as simple as flipping a switch. But the thought of introducing anyone new into her carefully constructed life made her chest tighten. Sitting down at the kitchen table, she watched her child laugh at a cartoon on the tablet. The sound was pure and effortless, and yet it reminded her of all the responsibilities that came with being a single mom. She loved this life, but she couldn't deny the fear that lingered underneath it, the fear that her past, her situation, her life as it was, might make her unlovable to someone she truly wanted. Her phone buzzed again, this time a notification from a dating app she hadn't opened in weeks. She sighed, scrolling through profiles with half-hearted interest. Faces smiled back at her, accompanied by short, easy bios. But each swipe left a tiny pang of doubt. How many of them would even consider a woman with a child? How many would see her whole life and quietly step away? She shook her head and put the phone down. "Maybe it's better this way," she whispered to herself, though the words felt hollow. Outside, the day was moving forward without her permission, and inside, she was caught between hope and hesitation. Her mind wandered to the stories she'd heard from friends, men who ran at the first mention of kids, dates that never lasted, casual encounters that ended awkwardly once her reality surfaced. Could love exist for someone like her? Or was it a luxury she had to set aside for the sake of stability and routine? She took a deep breath, straightening her shoulders. Whatever the answer, she told herself, she wouldn't let fear dictate her life. Not today. Not when her child's laughter reminded her that love wasn't just about romance, it was already there, in abundance, in a tiny hand clutching hers.